Hey, potential renters and buyers out there, are you ready for some good news?
Ooh, I'm ready!
The city of San Diego agreed to new rules and regulations for short-term rentals and Airbnbs. They're basically removing 6,500 properties from being allowed to rent on these short-term rental platforms, which will lead to more homes for sale and for rent. So what can we expect? My name is Dan Parker. I'm a local real estate agent with the Best Life Home Team, and I make videos about living your best life here in San Diego. And although I don't really work with renters, I mostly work with people buying and selling homes, I get asked just about every single day from people that are looking for some insight on the rental market here in San Diego because it is so tough. So I think it's time for some good news. So here's how it went down. At the beginning of this year, the city of San Diego, and just think of it this way, the city is about 1.5 million people. It's about half of what the county is. So we're just talking about the city right now. They laid out some new regulations at the beginning of this year that basically stated that short-term rentals cannot exceed 1% of the total amount of homes that are out there. And real quick, just in case you don't know or understand the short-term rental thing, STRs, short-term rentals, they're talking about any properties that are rented for a short period of time. So anything less than a month, less than 6 months, you're talking about short-term rentals. Most commonly, we're going to think of them as Airbnbs. So we have about 550 properties. They're limiting it to they're limiting it to 1% of those properties. So it's 5,500 properties in total in the city of San Diego that are going to be allowed to continue to rent their properties on Airbnb. However, as always, there are exceptions. The first one being that if it is an owner-occupied property, if you live in a property, rent out a room, rent out a unit, rent out the granny flat, then that is going to be exempt from this rule, which for me, I'm okay with. If you want a house hack, if you want an opportunity to make some money or help pay your mortgage by renting out a room, I personally think that's okay. I think that's a good rule. This is really limiting the strict investors from buying up multiple properties in San Diego and renting them out as short-term rentals. The second exemption is going to be for properties in Mission Beach, which if you've ever been to San Diego, if you've ever stayed in Mission Beach, you know is the ultimate touristy spot in all of San Diego. And you can test this out by trying to get down and park in Mission Beach, anywhere in Mission Beach, during the heat of summer. I mean, it's completely impossible. You're probably gonna have to park miles away from wherever you're meeting up with your friends, but you can rent these properties right on the beach, right on the bay. So they are gonna continue to allow a lot more short-term rentals in this area. In fact, they're gonna allow up to 30% of the properties to continue along with the short-term rentals. So really, since the beginning of this year, the question has been, all right, well, you're saying that this is going to happen. It still hasn't 100% been approved yet. There are about 12,000 current short-term rentals in the city of San Diego. So how are you going to pick and choose which ones are going to be allowed to continue to have their short-term rental status and have their permits approved so they can continue to host on Airbnb? Well, the last step of this process was the California Coastal Commission approving these rules, which they just did last month. They approved these rules and they're going to go into place January of 2023. And the way they're going to pick which properties are going to be allowed to continue as short-term rentals and which aren't is just going to be a simple lottery system. So about 50% of the properties are going to no longer be allowed to have this status. They're going to cut it right in half. So this means that 6.5 thousand properties in San Diego are either going to be sold off, rented long-term, or the family is just going to keep the property as a vacation rental or do nothing with it because they have more money than they know what to do with. They're homeowners. They can do whatever they want. But more than likely, a majority of these properties are either going to be sold or rented long-term. Back to the good news.
That is great news.
And as a bonus, if you're looking to buy a house right now, this is going to keep more investors out of the market. It's going to keep investors from wanting to buy short-term rental properties in San Diego County, because the reality is, if you're looking to invest in a property in San Diego, getting a property to rent out on the long term, it's really hard to make those numbers work here because the home prices are so high. I know rent seems really high too, but if you're looking to buy $1 million or $1.5 million house, and you can only rent it out at, let's just say for easy numbers, maybe $4,000 or $5,000 a month, that's not going to pay your mortgage if you put 20% down. Now, if you went and bought a short-term rental, you can make up those numbers because you can get more money per week, per month off of these short-term rentals, especially when you get into the summer months. So this is great because it's going to keep other investors out of this home buying market, which is going to create less competition for anyone looking to buy a home. And that starts now. I mean, right now, people are going to stop looking for these type of investment properties. But the real question is, how many homes are actually going to be sold and rented, and when is this going to start happening? Now, of course, I don't have a crystal ball, but I think that we can kind of break this up into thirds. You know, I think a little bit less than a third of those 6,500 properties are probably just going to be held on to for a long period of time. So about 1,500 properties are going to be held on to for a long period of time. And then about 2,500 properties are going to be sold, and about 2,500 properties are going to be rented long term. That's what my prediction is going to be, which is huge considering right now in the city of San Diego, there are just under 1,200 homes available for rent and 1,067 homes for sale. And we have about 6 months before this lottery goes into effect, in which property owners figure out whether they're going to keep their status or not. So I think that we are going to see some of these property owners are going to say, you know what? We believe this market is as hot as it's going to get. We want to cash out while everything's still really, really high. So even though we don't know whether we're going to continue to keep our status or not, we're just going to sell off now. I think there's going to be a percentage of these homes that sell off right now. Beyond that, I think it's mostly going to be properties in the Q1 of 2023. Once they find out whether they can keep their status or not, they're either going to transition right then into a long-term rental or into selling their house. So again, this is just the city of San Diego, but if we could see this large influx of homes for rent and for sale, along with everything else that's going on in the world, inflation, we see interest rates rising like crazy, talk about possible recession happening. None of these are nails in the coffin all alone on their own, but they are all adding to the fact that there's going to be a significant impact when it comes to housing in San Diego, and that's what we need. So if you want to take advantage of these changing tides, if you're looking to buy or sell a house right now, my team and I, we'd love to help. Reach out, our contact info is down below. But if you want to start researching on your own, I'd suggest take a look at where the most affordable communities in San Diego and what type of value you can get in those communities, which is exactly what I cover in this video right here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you got some value out of this video. We'll see you next time.